The international diplomatic stage was once again dominated by an unexpected development on May 19, 2025. United States President Donald Trump engaged in a lengthy 2-hour phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. This significant conversation, which also included U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, centered on the protracted and devastating war in Ukraine. President Putin later described their discussion as frank and substantive. President Trump, characteristically, noted the tone was excellent. This call immediately became a focal point of global discussion, given its potential to reshape the dynamics of the conflict and the delicate balance of international relations. Following this high-stakes conversation, President Trump made a significant announcement. He declared that Russia and Ukraine were poised to commence negotiations aimed at achieving a ceasefire and ultimately an end to the war. This news, broadcast with an air of optimism from the White House, momentarily ignited a spark of hope in various international capitals. However, this initial optimism was quickly tempered by a conspicuous absence of specific details. No clear timeline was provided for these supposed talks, nor were the precise modalities of such negotiations outlined, leading to widespread skepticism. During the extensive call, President Trump reportedly advanced several highly controversial ideas aimed at bringing an end to the hostilities in Ukraine. Among the most contentious of these was the suggestion to freeze the conflict. Critics were quick to argue that such an approach would effectively legitimize Russia's existing territorial acquisitions in Ukraine, thereby rewarding Moscow's aggression. President Trump also suggested that the specific conditions for ending the war should be thrashed out directly in negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. From the Russian side, President Vladimir Putin conveyed a message of apparent openness. He stated that Russia was prepared to work on a memorandum for peace, a declaration that, on its surface, seemed constructive. The reaction from the Ukrainian government to the Trump-Putin call, and particularly to the peace proposals reportedly discussed, was both immediate and overwhelmingly negative. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky publicly characterized the call and its implications as unhelpful. For a nation engaged in an existential struggle for its sovereignty and survival, any international overtures or proposals that could be interpreted as legitimizing territorial losses were understandably viewed as a significant and dangerous setback. President Zelensky seized the moment to firmly and publicly reassert Ukraine's fundamental and non-negotiable red lines for any peace settlement. Beyond the immediate and forceful reaction from Ukraine, the Trump-Putin call and the nature of the American president's diplomatic approach triggered significant concern among NATO allies and key European leaders. A palpable fear permeated many Western capitals that such unilateral engagements, especially those that appeared to float controversial peace terms seemingly favorable to Moscow, might inadvertently embolden Russia. If the Kremlin were to perceive any weakening of Western resolve, or detect emerging divisions within the crucial transatlantic alliance, it could very well become less inclined to negotiate seriously, or to make any meaningful concessions, thereby prolonging the conflict. Numerous foreign policy experts and long-standing critics of President Trump's approach to international relations were quick to highlight a disturbing aspect of the reported peace ideas. The controversial phone call between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin on May 19, 2025, has undeniably cast a long and complex shadow over the already fraught future of peace talks concerning Ukraine. Instead of illuminating a clearer path toward a sustainable resolution, this high-profile exchange appears to have introduced new layers of intricacy and profound uncertainty into an already volatile situation. The strong, unequivocal negative reaction from Ukraine, powerfully articulated by President Zelensky, coupled with the palpable anxieties expressed by many NATO allies, strongly suggests that any peace process perceived as being driven by concessions that undermine Ukrainian sovereignty will inevitably face formidable resistance. President Zelensky's unwavering stance on the complete restoration of Ukraine's territorial integrity means that proposals such as freezing the conflict are and will remain absolute non-starters for Kiev.